All the persecution we suffered for almost 2,000 years was mostly the fault of the church. But since the end of World War II, there is a considerable change in the church attitude to the Jewish people. The Vatican only recently realized the value of the Jewish people in working for the good of the society, to work for the betterment of the world, what we call tikkun olam, betterment of the world. But there were individuals already before who saw, understood, the Jewish people were chosen to be the role model for others. John Adams, the second president, wrote to his friend in 1809, "I will insist that the Hebrews have done more to civilize men than any other nation. If I were an atheist and believed in blind eternal fate, I should still believe that fate had ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument for civilizing nations. If I were an atheist of the other sect who believe or pretend to believe that all is ordered by chance, I should believe that the chance had ordered the Jews to preserve and propagate to all mankind the doctrine of a supreme, intelligent, wise, almighty sovereign of the universe, which I believe to be the great essential principle of morality and consequently of all civilization." Here's what Mark Twain said: "If the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1% of the human race. It's just a nebulous dim puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly be heard of, but he is heard of. But he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contribution to the world list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also way out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world, in all the ages. He has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now, or have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? This you find in the Concerning the Jews, Harper's Magazine, 1889. Then there was Balaam, who was engaged by Balak to curse Bnei Israel. But when he looked at Israelites' camp, he exclaimed, "Ma tuvu chalecha Yaakov, mishkanatara Israel." How goodly are your tents, Israel. He didn't praise those tents Israelites lived in. He was an intelligent guy who was well informed. He knew about the Ten Commandments and other moral laws Bnei Israel received from the Lord. And he understood that those people in time shall have beneficial influence on all the other nations of the world. Another individual eyes opened up 5 years ago. He is a Spanish writer, poet, so let's listen to his own words. I walked down the streets in Barcelona and suddenly discovered a terrible truth. Europe died in Auschwitz. We killed 6 million Jews and replaced them with 20 million Muslims. In Auschwitz, we burned a culture, their souls, creativity, and talent. We destroyed the chosen people, truly chosen, because they produced great and wonderful beings who changed the world. The contribution of these people is felt in all areas of life: science, art, international trade, and above all, as the conscience of the world. These are the people we burned. And under the pretense of tolerance, and because we wanted to prove to ourselves that we were cured of the disease of racism, we opened our gates to 20 million Muslims who brought us stupidity and ignorance, religious extremism, lack of tolerance, crime and poverty due to an unwillingness to work and support their families with pride. They have turned our beautiful Spanish cities into the third world, drowning in filth and crime. Shut up in their apartments, they receive free from the government, they plan the murder and destruction of their naive hosts. And just in our misery, we have exchanged culture for fanatical hatred, creative skill for the destructive skill, intelligence for backwardness and superstition. We have exchanged the pursuit of peace of the Jews of Europe and their talent for hoping for a better future to their children. They are determined clinging to life because life is holy. For those who pursue death for people, consumed by the desire for death for themselves and others, for our children and theirs, what a terrible mistake was made by miserable Europe. According to a study by the Pew Research Center in the so Islam has 1.6 billion people, making it over 33% of the world population. More than 1/5. As of 2010, the world Jewish population was estimated at 13.4 million, or roughly 0.02% of 1% of the total of the world population. There have been 10 Muslim Nobel Prize laureates for peace, literature, physics, and chemistry, including Yasser Arafat. And we know who Yasser Arafat was. Al-Sadat and they work with him. Now, there were 178 Jewish Nobel Prize laureates for all categories. Now compare. There were 10 Muslims and 178 Jewish Nobel Prize laureates for all categories. Literature, chemistry, psychology, and medicine, physics, and peace. The Jews are not promoting brainwashing children in military training camps, teaching them how to blow themselves up and cause a maximum number of deaths of Jews and other non-Muslims. The Jews don't hijack planes, nor kill athletes at the Olympics or blow themselves up in German restaurants.